The best footballers on the planet often come from a select few nations that are powerhouses of the world game. Those countries have invested in football and therefore tend to produce some of the best talents in the world. Players in all different positions of the field are developed in these countries, and it's not an accident that they also win most international trophies. Sometimes those players that break the mold rise up and become the best, even though they don't come from these powerhouse football nations. Their club football may be great, but when it comes to international football, they struggle. Here are 9 such players that are held back by their country. Number 1. Erling Haaland. Despite arguably being the best player on the planet, Haaland has struggled when it comes to international football because he plays for Norway, who have never been considered a powerhouse. As such, he's failed to qualify and compete in the last 3 major international tournaments, recently missing out on the Euro 2024 as well. This must be a bitter pill for him to swallow, given he played such a massive role in the unprecedented treble with Man City last season, being top scorer of both the Premier League and Champions League. Alongside his fellow countryman Odegaard, he's quickly learning that 2 great talents cannot make a great team. This may be a major blow to his Ballon d'Or chances, and given that he could have played for England, he might very much be regretting his decision. Number 2. Martin Odegaard. Despite being rivals in the league, Odegaard and Haaland team up for Norway, and many people believe that they alone would be enough to catapult them to greater heights. It hasn't quite worked out that way, leaving the Norwegian fanbase and players massively frustrated. Having recently missed out on a 3rd international tournament in a row, it may be time to go back to the drawing board for the country's football team as a whole. Being the captain of both club and country, Odegaard has a lot of work to do to ensure they make it to the World Cup in 2026. Number 3. Jamal Musiala. Musiala still gets messages about his decision to play for Germany instead of England and takes it as a compliment that fans are frustrated he's not representing their country. The 20-year-old is considered one of the best prospects in world football, having flourished for European giants Bayern Munich since breaking through in 2020. Germany is also one of those powerhouse teams, so it should all be fine, right? Wrong. Germany's men's football team, the winner of 4 World Cups and 3 European Championships, has been in steep decline in recent years, with consecutive group stage exits at the FIFA World Cup and ranking outside the top 10 for the last 4 years. The once feared German machine appears to be broken. A big blow for many great players, but given how young and talented Musiala is, it has to be a frustrating time. Number 4. Kvicha Kvaratskhelia. Georgian footballer Kvicha Kvaratskhelia claims 17th place among Ballon d'Or nominees. Nobody has to be told that Georgia, having failed to qualify for either a European Championship or World Cup finals, since gaining their independence from the Soviet Union, does not produce great footballers. Kvicha is a dime a dozen in that respect. There have been some notable names from there, such as Shota Arvelati and Timuri Ketsbaya, but Kvicha is already held in higher regard than any of those. He now holds the hope of his nation on his shoulders, and Georgia is off to a great start, as in 2018, they were the first team to earn promotion in the new UEFA Nations League back then. Suffice to say, this is a small victory, and it's going to be a struggle to get Georgia anywhere near bigger international tournaments. Number 5. Mohamed Salah. The Egyptian is undoubtedly one of the greatest players in Premier League history, and that type of praise transfers harshly onto the international scene. Egypt were once African powerhouses, winning the Africa Cup of Nations almost every year it was on offer, but have fallen off in subsequent years despite having Salah in their ranks. They most recently lost the final of the African Cup of Nations on penalties and failed to qualify for the last World Cup. Not a great look for Salah or his team. The truth is, whenever anything good happens for Egypt, it's mostly Salah who had a large part to play, but he's often let down by subpar teammates and subpar team play. He often cuts a lonely and frustrated figure when playing for his national team, given he has the whole weight of the country on his shoulders. Hopefully he can take home some much-needed silverware in the upcoming Africa Cup of Nations. Number 6. Alphonso Davies. A left back for his club but a winger for his country, Davies often looks like the only hope Canada have at winning games because of his high pedigree. He scored their first ever goal at a World Cup in the recent edition, though they failed to win any matches. And now the Canadians are out of the CONCACAF tournament. They need to be consistent, and you'd expect Davies to be front and center if that happens. He happily takes on the weight of his country and will look to progress Canadian football as much as he can. With some developing talent such as Jonathan David and Ismail Kone, hopefully he can get some help in the coming years. Number 7. Robert Lewandowski. Need we say any more? Lewandowski's struggles being Poland's only star player has been something that has been widely documented. The second best player on the team is the goalkeeper Wojciech Szczesny, while almost everyone else is subpar. He was the best player in the world for a few years, but when he played for his country, you could never tell, given how woeful the team's performance was. This lack of depth shows why Poland is not on the same level as France, Spain, Germany, Brazil, and Argentina. This kind of depth is required when you play against top-tier teams, not just one or two star players. Number 8. Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. Aubameyang is one of two Gabon internationals to have played in the Premier League, the other one being another man who knows West London well, Mario Lemina. He captained the African nation, but he was born and brought up in France. In another life, France could have used him and Mbappe up top. He may now regret not taking a more glamorous route, as he had the pick of Spain, France and Italy, but decided to play for Gabon. Safe to say his decision was a disaster, as with the lack of talent around him, even Aubameyang couldn't carry them to anything. Number 9. Kevin De Bruyne. There are plenty of star players you could put on this list when it comes to Belgium. Their golden generation is now just coming to an end, with nothing significant to show for it outside of a World Cup semi-final defeat. It wasn't for a lack of star players though, as Belgium consistently had one of the best squads in any tournament they were in, but more so a lack of proper coaching. The likes of Hazard and Lukaku were also affected, but De Bruyne is undoubtedly the biggest name that you have to feel sorry for. Despite being heralded as one of the best playmakers of all time, the Belgian could never realize success with his national team, always coming steps too short. There you have it. Those were 9 players who are being held back by their national team.